Well, good evening. Hello, everybody. How are we all on this Tuesday? It's Tuesday, it's Tuesday, it's time to do this. I haven't thought the rhyme through. Hello, hello. So, as you know, I have the most spectacular, wonderful guest this evening, David Blue, who I should be able to connect with in just a second. I'm so excited about this one, guys. Thank you for joining us. I think this is going to be brilliant. Connecting. There he is.
You were saying something about a brilliant guest. I thought we were doing something today.
Yeah, sorry. Hello.
Hello, how are you? Nice to talk to you.
I am terribly, terribly well, thank you. It has just started raining here, half of the course in London. I'm just going to turn the volume up a little bit. Can you hear me? Ooh.
Yes, mine's good. Is my mic okay? Because I usually have an external mic, but instead I decided to plug in the charger so we don't get disconnected.
Yes, that's always a fun thing, isn't it? When you start watching your battery going, oh my God.
I'm jealous of the ring light. You're so clear and well lit.
Oh, honey, I've had 11 weeks to practice. Or to perfect and tweak.
My light closer, just so I can try to compete.
Oh, that's brilliant. But we'll just talk amongst ourselves while we wait for you to set up your light. So yes, I am super, super excited about tonight, this afternoon for you. You are a absolute, like, multi-talented, triple threat force of nature, baby. And yeah, actor, singer, voiceover artist, dancer, I discovered quite late in the day today, which I'm looking forward to seeing that sometime soon, perhaps when we next see one another. So I'm just going to jump right on in because we only have an hour and I have a feeling we're going to have lots to talk about. So right off the bat, what was the first memory that you have of knowing that you wanted to be a performer, that you looked at it and went, that's what I want to do?
That's a tough one to answer because I've been acting since I was in second grade, since elementary school, and I always enjoyed it. So it's definitely something I've always enjoyed, but it wasn't until right when I was about to go to college, and I was supposed to go to college for computer science, and pretty much at the last minute, I had this realization of I didn't want to be in a cubicle all day. And I thought, wait, what else can I do? Oh, what about that thing that's always made me happy? Instead, I went and studied theater and have kind of been doing that ever since. So it was kind of when I was 18 that I really had the realization, but I've been doing it my whole life.
Right. And what was your very, very first role? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, by the way, if I'm sweaty, I just worked out, so forgive me. I thought I would cool down in time. I did not.
No, it's good. Sweat is in. Whereas everyone else has kind of gone during lockdown. Not you. You're sweating and getting thinner.
No, not at all. If anyone lost weight, I found it. You're fine. My first role actually was I played a rat in the Nutcracker in second grade, and it was barely a role. They pretty much just put ears and a nose on me and said, run! And I ran across the stage once, and that was pretty much it.
And you went, I love this.
Yeah, it was just kind of I always did, especially with school, in elementary school and middle school, and then I started doing community theater. It was just kind of something, that and chorus and stuff like that. I just always knew that I liked it, you know?
Yeah, fantastic. So you go to university, you get your BA in Fine Arts in Theatre and Musical Theatre, and then after that Sorry, say that again. It cut out.
BFA, actually.
Woo! Get you! BFA. What is the F for? Fierce.
Bachelor of Fierce Arts. I like that. By the way, I'm struggling right now not to say, how about you? After every question. I'm like, I'm thinking about me, but I guess that's what the point of this is, huh?
You can say it if you want to occasionally. I don't mind. We can see how that goes. Right, so BFA. Sorry, I said BA of Fine Arts, so just a different way of saying it, but never mind. So you get your degree. You're launched into the world. You have an apprenticeship at the Actors Theatre of Louisville. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was actually amazing. There's this thing in the Southeast called the Southeastern Theater Conference where you can kind of go after college and you do one audition in a giant conference hall for hundreds of theater companies and repertory companies and what have you. And at the end of college, we were required to do, through the conservatory program I was in, we were required to do an internship or an apprenticeship. And so I went to that audition and did quite well, unexpectedly, I would say. And got a few offers, but Actors Theater of Louisville, then and now, is one of the top regional theaters in the country. And I just kind of waited, hoping. I've done this too many times in my life where I put all my eggs in one basket, but I really, really wanted to go. And I was lucky. I was one of 8 people in the country selected to go and be an apprentice there. And I learned a lot. I got to perform on some amazing stages and work with some great people. And it was a perfect start to my career, my actual career.
Yeah. Amazing. And how long is the apprenticeship?
It depends. You can do like a summer one or you can do a year-round one. I couldn't afford to do the year-round one because you kind of had to support yourself. So I did the summer one. But in order to qualify it as my apprenticeship, I extended. So I was kind of there a month or two. It's been a while. I think a month or two earlier than all the other apprentices. And I just did crew work. I did lighting, hanging lights and running shows and stuff like that. And then when they arrived, the actual apprenticeship started. So it was 4 months, I think.
Fantastic. And that sets you up nicely. And then you head off to Los Angeles, like everybody else, trying to be an actor. Los Angeles. And your very first job is Veronica Mars, that fantastic, fantastic series. Do you remember who you played?
You know, actually, funny enough, I don't think that was my very, very first job, but that's the first one I'm cool talking about. I think my first job was a horrible horror movie that I got cut out of before even
We've
premiered.
all been there.
I played on Veronica Mars. I played the role of Beefy Resident, which is not a credit you want on your IMDb.
Well, it's interesting because like beefy to me is like, in a way, it's quite, I don't think that's insulting, but I completely understand where you're coming from. It's sort of like they go, you know, voluptuous woman. And I'm like, that's just a nice way of saying fat. You know?
Yeah, I've dealt with weight my entire life. So I've always had body dysmorphia, so I've never really felt comfortable in my skin. But it's not that it said like ripped resident or because I was strong resident, but something about beefy makes it feel like I just finished eating a sandwich before I came to that. But ironically, I actually, if anyone's ever seen the episode, you probably can't tell, I hope, but I had the worst food poisoning when I showed that. And I essentially had to do, I don't even remember filming because I was so sick.
Oh my God, that's awful. So,
that was the first.
like, I love this. It makes me puke and spew, and I'm playing beefy guy. Great.
Yeah, I think from what I remember, what I've been told, we shot in San Diego. So I drove down there sick. We shot, they put me up in a hotel. I didn't experience it at all. And I shot my scene and I went home.
Oh no. But one for the books, one for the memory books. And thankfully for us, we didn't have to wait too long before you kind of burst onto the screen. I know you were working and doing sort of episodic things, but then you had a real lucky break, and that was with the hugely popular series Ugly Betty, where you played Cliff St. Paul, fashion photographer, and also love interest to Michael Urie. So
Indeed.
Tell us how that audition process was and how the role came to you.
Yeah, God, I know you know. I love it when people say, not you, when other people go like, why'd you choose that role? And you're like, I wanted a job. This opportunity came up and I chased it. It was kind of standard. I went to the first audition. I think it was my first time ever even auditioning for that wonderful casting director, Jeff Greenberg and Alan Hooper.
Oh, he's so great.
Love them. And everyone else in that audition were huge names, huge stars. I knew all of them. And it was so intimidating because I wasn't. And I auditioned. Oh no, are we frozen?
Yeah, I think so. I can hear you though. The sound is carrying on. So keep talking, or I don't know. Did you get a phone call or something? There you go. You're back. You're back.
Can you hear me now? Oh. Can you hear me at all?
No, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering should I get off of Wi-Fi? I'm on Wi-Fi right now. Should I just go straight to like service?
I don't know. Whatever's better, guys. What do you guys think? I mean, this is not really my area of expertise.
This is the problem with quarantine: is there's so many weird interruptions in service. You know?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, we
tempted
can
to say
hear
let's.
you.
Okay, I'm tempted to say let's keep going, but if it happens again, I'll switch to switch off of the Wi-Fi.
Okay,
You can
cool.
still, okay. So so just to finish that off, I had the audition. They told me pretty much in the room that they liked me a lot, but callbacks weren't going to be for about a month, and that they were looking for somebody heavier than me. So I
Right.
pretty much stopped working out and started eating like mad, and gained weight for the callback, and then same thing for the test, and just worked really hard. And the best compliment I think I've one of the best I've ever gotten in my career was they told me afterwards, they're like, you earned that job. And everyone, they were so inviting and welcoming,
Uh, do you know what?
especially
I'm
because the
wondering
role
if
was
we
written as
should.
just a 3 episode role.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just wondering if we should, if you should switch because it is the sound keeps dropping out, which might be because it's a sort of like peak time of day. But now you've frozen again. Oh no! It was such a good story too. Uh,
Hold on,
okay.
hold on, I'm off Wi-Fi. 1 second.
Okay, sure, no problem. Yes, he knows his mic's going in and out, everyone. Thank you. We're aware. um,
Can you hear
no,
me now?
this is not. Yeah, there you go. A little bit. It's very patchy though. It seems like it's not. It's very pixelated and then dropping out of sound. So not quite sure how we can fix that.
It looks like I'm back on. Am I
Do
back?
you, yeah, somebody's saying plug in an Ethernet cable.
It's
Also,
my
maybe.
phone. Can you hear me now?
I
Let me
can hear
reconnect.
you, but I can't see you.
1 second. Let me.
I'll tell you what. Should we jump off and then rejoin? He's gone, so he'll be right back. Well, we'll just talk amongst ourselves then. Let's see, who's this? Right, so who should I go live with? Da, 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 da. He's back. Ta-da! Right, we're going to restart, I think. Here we go. Fingers crossed.
I'm sorry. I have no idea. So now we're not on Wi-Fi anymore. I'm just using the regular service. Let's hope that's better.
Right. I think that might be, hey guys from Unseen.
I'm sorry.
I don't know though if that's going to be worse or better. I mean, in our house, Wi-Fi is definitely better because the picture is not good now.
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you, but like it's completely blurry, completely out of focus. So I don't know. Do you normally take? What we could do is we could jump off, and you could maybe try and see if you've got some headphones or somewhere in your house maybe with this slightly better signal. I don't know.
Unfortunately, I'm sitting next to the router, but I have a question for you. Can I do this via a PC or a laptop or no?
I don't think you can do lives that way. I think, unfortunately, I mean, again, to my knowledge, no, and that's the pain in the neck. Somebody's saying change rooms. I don't know if that's going to work. Use Wi-Fi, much better. Can you move to another spot? Oh, no. I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to go off. Say 5 minutes and then rejoin, if that's all right, everyone. Otherwise, they're going to cut us off after an hour and we would have spent all this time fixing the sound. So I will be back in 2 minutes. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, look at that. See you shortly. Hello again, everyone. If you are joining us for the first time now, we had to quickly jump off and back on again because David was having issues with his sound and stuff like that. So I'm going to just quickly see if we can make this work this time. Fingers crossed. And worst case scenario, well, I don't know what we'll do. We'll think about it and come back because there's no point if you guys can't hear us.
I have no idea what is going on.
Well, that is much better. So whatever you've done now, this seems to be good.
I'm not, it's hard during this time because I just joined Twitch a few months ago for David Twitch. And I've been having issues even with upgrading internet. There's just a lot of internet droppage these days because there's so much congestion and people using it. I don't know if it's that or what.
Yeah.
So I am.
Well, I'll tell you what, somebody's saying I could sing. Well, we could sing a duet, but for now, we're going to carry on talking because we can hear you.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry to everybody and to you. I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, no, please don't be. It's, you know what, it happens. And especially with these live things, it's a busy time of day for you. It's a busy time of night here. You know, who knows? We'll plow on. So, so you got the part of Cliff in Ugly Betty, and one of the things I've absolutely loved listening to interviews, every time you've been asked, like, how did you prepare to play a gay man when you're straight? And I just love your replies. So please share with us what you always say.
That was a lot of pressure because now I got to make sure it's the same. But what I say is people make such a big deal about it. They're like, how'd you do it? How'd you play? And I'm just like, I played a person who was in love with another person. You know, it's the simplest thing in the world, and it's exactly how I view the world. It's not different. It's literally love is love. And especially with the character of Cliff, it's interesting. I don't know how you feel as an actor, but I teach and coach as well. And one of the things I always say is every role has a piece of you in it. And I kind of looked at Cliff as the most optimistic version of myself. Everything was hopeful and positive, and taking that and putting it on somebody piqued your interest and you like them and you're interested in them and you fall in love with them. It's not difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you guys had such fantastic chemistry, you and Michael Urie. Do you still stay in touch?
Oh no.
Oh no. No. We've frozen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all right. I can hear you. So, why is this happening?
My laptop. I'm getting out my laptop.
Get
out my laptop. Let's see if we can do this.
Let's see.
Wait 1 second. I'm trying my.
So, this is all right. So I'll tell you what. You set yourself up, and in the meanwhile, we'll just talk amongst ourselves. How is everybody doing? Suanne, get your singing voice ready. Yeah. How are we? It's day 59,000 of lockdown. And, you know, how are we doing? Yes, issues with IG Live. I agree. I'm thinking possibly of changing platforms because of this continuing issue, which is a problem. Hello, everyone. Waving. It's so lovely to have you all here. Hello, lovely Jacqueline Samuda. I saw you crept into the room nice and quiet. Think I didn't see ya. I saw ya. So, guys, anyone who's just joined right now, we are having a slight problem with David's sound. So he's just trying to see if he can sort it out, and then we can carry on. Worst case scenario, we will migrate to another platform or set up another night, because I know lots of you were very, very keen to see this. So, hey there, Jacqueline. So, yeah, has anybody got any questions at the moment? Let me just see, that might be David back. So, he's now saying he's unable to join. Yeah. So, David, I suspect if you're watching this, you're unable to join because you're trying to do it through a laptop. I don't think you can watch it on a laptop, but I don't think you can live stream it through a laptop. So any techies out there, maybe you guys can help us. I don't know how to make it better. He's sitting on top of his router, so to speak. that sounds rude. Yes, no, it doesn't work on a PC, exactly. Yeah, I don't really know quite how to read your name. My name, Suanne is my name. Or it depends where you are. Of course, people, we have suggested trying another room. Sorry, I'm reading comments as people are trying to help. Lula on your PC, what does that mean? That's like some kind of magic gibberish. Reboot the router. Reboot the router, David, if you're watching. Otherwise, we might just jump off again and then try and start again. Who knows? It's exciting. I could just sit here and read your comments for an hour. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Two guys walk into a bar. No, I'm joking. Right, so if he knows how to do it, change the DNS servers. Oh my God, that all sounds terribly complicated. Look it up on YouTube. It takes like 2 minutes. Right, I don't know if he is watching any of this. Let me see if I can join him. I think he may have jumped off for the moment. So does anyone have any questions for me? How about those Lakers? Because these are all excellent suggestions, but I'm not sure I can tell him these while I'm live unless he is watching. So yes, call Samantha Carter. She'll fix anything. Shall I just quickly text her and see if she can come pop on in? I know yeah, he's back. Well, I'm not sure you can join from a computer. No, you can't. Apparently, it has to be a phone. We've had multiple suggestions though about rerouting your. Oh, it's now saying unable to join. No, I'm going to try and join you. Why? Why is it now unable to join when you could? Technology. So in the meantime, when do I think I'll be back on the stage? Well, I can't really say at the moment. We shall see. We shall see. Accents. Oh my God. I don't really know what it is about accents that you like so much to do. Funny accent now. I'm very sorry if I'm insulting everybody. I'm trying to be funny, but it's not good. He's back. Here we go. We're going to try one more time. Come on. Let's make it work. Work. Please work. Yeah.
Yeah, what's happening? I'm literally trying a different place. Again, I don't know what's going on. I have high-speed internet. I was right next to the router when we were doing it. Now I'm further from the router, but I can't do it on PC. I think I don't know.
No, I think it's weird. For some reason, you can watch it, but you can't join the conversation. Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to plow on again.
Yeah, so sorry. I feel terrible, but yes.
Oh,
yeah,
please don't feel terrible. Is this just like an elaborate way to try and avoid talking to me? Is that what this really is?
No, I've been looking forward to this all day.
Yeah. So, wonderful Clifton and Paul, working with Michael Urie. You get this wonderful opportunity. I mean, the show now, because it's being screened on Hulu, it's developed like a real cult following.
Yeah, it was kind of even crazy at the time, honestly. I knew of the show and I'd watched the show, but I had no idea how widely loved it was. So it was kind of an amazing experience to join that cast.
What was your most outre out there kind of high fashion moment?
I'll tell you my most a combination of that plus realistic moment. So I started getting invited to events and red carpets and whatever after that. It was my first time really. And I remember showing up to a event, I think it was called Hot in Hollywood. It was just all good looking people. And here I am in my t-shirt. And I pull up in my 1987 Honda Accord that barely ran next to the red carpet. Yeah. And girlfriend and I got out and we're like, quick, run. And we just gave the keys to the valet and ran to the other side of the room and then walked to the red carpet. It just felt ridiculous because, it felt so disingenuous to what was actually going on in my life at the time. But the most amazing thing is everybody in that cast and crew welcomed me with open arms. So none of them were like, what are you doing here? You're brand new. They're like, hey, come take a picture with us. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And of course, the show, it's famously in Malala's book, she quoted saying that she watched it in Pakistan. So it's extraordinary, this show that has reached globally and audiences that you wouldn't necessarily associate with it always. So that is, what an extraordinary thing to have, is sort of you're first, because as you said, you've been acting your whole life, but this kind of launching you into the public eye. And then around about the same time, you auditioned for something called Moonlight, which you played a slacker computer whiz who also happens to be a vampire, which I loved. I was like, only in Hollywood. Tell us a little bit about that show.
It was pretty amazing, actually, because I was already doing Ugly Betty, and then I had this audition for just one episode. It was supposed to be for one episode of this new CBS vampire drama. And I shot it, and after that episode, they just kept asking me back more and more. And here's a little thing I don't really talk about much. I was watching Jeffrey Dean Morgan because I love Supernatural, and I remember watching him on that in Grey's Anatomy, and I kind of secretly said to myself, "That's how I'll know I've made it. When I'm recurring 2 shows at the same time, I'll know I've made it as an actor." And I booked Moonlight. And then and then they invited me back, and they kept inviting me back, and it was like a dream. I was going from one studio to another, back and forth, trying to arrange schedules, and even and again another show where they welcomed me with open arms. And even when we finished filming the supposed to be season finale, the creators came up to me and told me they were going to make me a series regular the next year.
Amazing.
Then we were canceled, but
Yeah.
yes, and it was just a whirlwind. Like my whole life changed in a short period of time, and I loved the character, especially compared to like compared to Cliff, who was like this nice, easygoing photographer, to then go across town and play like kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Who's good at Rock Band. It was so much fun.
A role you could sink your teeth into.
Hey.
Thank you. I'm here till Thursday. I know, sorry, I was like, that is so awful. That's such a bad joke. Yeah, and so he was a complete slacker and a bit of a dick, right? Because I have not seen the show, I'm afraid. I've watched everything else.
How dare you? I'm done.
I know. I'm sorry, Master. Right, so after Moonlight, you're now climbing the ladder of success very excitingly, working all the time, grooving in LA, and you are a self-confessed massive sci-fi geek, and you get the call to audition for SGU, for Stargate Universe, playing Eli Wallace. So tell us about that audition process.
Well, first of all, the character was originally called Eli Hitchcock.
Yes.
So I was going to play him. But I was in New York filming an episode of Ugly Betty when I got the audition. And I had another audition too, right around the same time. And I remember honestly balking at the audition. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. Not because I didn't want to do Stargate, but because the character was described, if I remember correctly, as an acerbic wit with an untested talent. And the more I read it, the more it just felt like they were talking about McKay. They were just talking about David Hewlett. And I loved David Hewlett. And I was like, there's no way that I can play a role like David Hewlett as well as David Hewlett. So I almost passed on it. But I considered it. And then I asked my friend Claudia Black, who I had gotten to know actually because of Moonlight. And she's like, you have to do it. They're so great. It's the fans are wonderful. The people involved in the show are wonderful. So I kind of got over it and auditioned and very quickly found out I was going to be testing for it, but not for a few weeks. It was a while later. And then realized part of the problem was the audition sides for Eli were not really Eli's audition sides.
Oh,
they were
God, that whole thing. Isn't that bizarre when that happens?
Well, especially when it changes your perception of the character, because the original audition sides for Eli were Eli hitting on Samantha Carter. And I was like, I mean, I love Amanda Tapping, but okay. And I had no idea what I was really walking into. And then for the test, they actually had me do the regular sides. And then I got a better idea of who he was. Right.
Okay. And why did they change the name? Do you know?
Yeah, they couldn't get clearance. They wanted to do Eli Hitchcock, but there was another Eli Hitchcock that wouldn't sign off on it, which still blows my mind because they changed it to Eli Wallace. And you think with Eli Wallach, it would have been a problem. But,
yeah. No, exactly. How funny. And how did you feel about joining sort of such an established show? Because SGU was kind of the third in the incarnation of Stargate. How did that feel?
I was excited. Even my friends, because I have a decent number of friends who are also nerds. I was really excited because it felt like, you know how it is when you start a new TV show or a new gig, you don't know if there's going to be anybody to watch it. You don't know if anyone's going to care. And what was really great about stepping into an established franchise is you knew that there were people waiting for more, people who wanted to hear the stories. And it also was an intense amount of pressure, at least I felt, because there's so many people waiting to see if you disappoint them.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and I've talked about this once or twice in interviews, so I won't go deep into it. But unfortunately, there was also just bad timing when we premiered. I will probably get to it later, but I wasn't really expecting what happened because to me, I felt, not personally, I'm not going to say egotistically it was on me, but I did feel personally somewhat responsible for making sure that the new fans and the old fans could bridge and join the show. And that was a lot more pressure, I think, than I or anybody else was used to joining the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I think in my notes, I was like, I think it's because Eli, you become us. You know, we see very much the whole sort of show through you to a huge degree. And I can understand that that must have been massively exciting, but also daunting, because at the
Yeah,
time,
and they told me. I mean, so after the test, but before they told me I had the job, Brad and Rob conference called me
yeah.
while I was at an event. Actually, I had to step outside an event and just have this long phone call.
How
And kind
fabulous,
of,
how Hollywood. You're like, hang on a
right?
minute, I'm just going to step out and take this.
Can you hold my drink? I have a little
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah.
Um, but they essentially told me, I think point blank, they're like, look, Eli is going to be the surrogate for the audience. So we need to make sure that you are who we want for this. And I was like, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
actually welcomed it, because not only had I seen, as you mentioned, all of the other Stargates before, but I'm a huge sci-fi geek. I take my crafts, it sounds douchey, but I take my craft seriously. And I was like, challenge accepted. I had no idea how far it would go in that direction, but I loved being I think of like my family. My parents hadn't watched Stargate before I got cast, and I liked the idea that I could help bridge that gap for them. I could help, or this show could help, and in some small way I could help introduce more fans to Stargate. That was always my goal, not that I was a producer. My goal was always to take all of the existing Stargate fans and grow the family. Not to isolate anyone, not to alienate anyone, but just to add to the family. And so I kind of loved the idea that I could help be a part of that.
Now, on that note, when Elena was on, we chatted about this because, of course, she was saying at the time there was like massive backlash to you guys. Were you aware of that at the time?
Sadly, yes, because I'm a huge nerd, and I was very curious how people were accepting the show. So I did probably too much research, more than I've learned my lesson. An actor should not be this aware of what people are thinking. But we all kind of were. We loved the show. We loved each other, and we enjoyed doing it. But we would watch. Everyone would come over to my apartment every week, and we'd watch the new episodes as they air, and then play Rock Band. But we would watch Twitter live to see what people thought. And after that first episode, I was really surprised. I don't want to get too negative about it, but what I learned and how I've kind of described it since is we unfortunately fell into a perfect storm, because it was a three-part perfect storm. First of all, some publicist somewhere screwed up, and they announced our creation in the same paragraph that they announced Atlantis' cancellation.
Yeah.
And even though they weren't actually related, because they had put them in the same press release, a lot of people thought we were only starting because Atlantis was canceling. And so that did not help.
No.
And then Sci-Fi rebranded, and then also MGM went bankrupt. So all of those things happened at the same time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people did enjoy the show. I mean, I was curious. I looked at a torrent site once, and I saw that SGU was the most torrented show of the month. And so I knew people were watching, but what I wasn't expecting, and the part that still kind of bothers me as a huge nerd, as a fan, as a consumer of entertainment, I wasn't expecting the active backlash. I went to conventions because I was one of the first to start going from our cast, and I would see flyers being passed out called SGU sucks, don't watch the show, and then we'll get Atlantis back. People were actively campaigning to get us canceled, and the way that I've said it before, it just surprised me, because the way that I said it before, did I freeze again? Am I frozen?
Yeah, but it's okay. I think it's coming back. It'll come back. It's been so good up until now. We can hear you. There you go. You're back.
Star Trek fan. I was a huge Next Generation fan, and I then was 9 and some of Voyager, and then not really Enterprise, and I would never actively campaign against.
Exactly, against another show.
So
yeah,
it surprised me, and I still feel this way to this day. If you don't like something, don't watch it, but it doesn't mean you try to get it canceled,
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I've spent quite a lot of time with SGU and SG1 and Atlantis, but particularly SGU in the last 11 weeks. And I absolutely think it was one of those shows that maybe now, of course, hindsight being perfect vision, but I kind of think that it just has matured like a like a fine wine and a good woman. You know, I think that it kind of came too soon in a way, because they were the creators were really pushing the envelope. It was character driven, and it's bloody good. But I just think people were, as you said, so kind of hell bent and set on what they knew that they weren't ready to embrace it.
Yeah, and
But I think
because not only, you know, I respected the hell out of Brad and Rob because they wanted to try something new, you know, and I've never understood people who get mad at them. You can't get mad at the people who created the show for trying something new, because it's still the people that you love. But oh, that's a great freeze frame of my face that I can see. But also,
it's so good for a while. I don't know what's happened now. It's started freezing again. Never mind. We'll keep going. Keep going. There you go. You're back.
And I like
and you have to speak like. Oh no! No, we can't hear you.
Back? Liked it.
La 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 la. Nice hair.
Can you hear me?
This is good. This is going to be like Love Actually. We're going to be holding up.
Completely comical. Well, now you're frozen. Am I frozen or is she frozen? Can you guys hear me or her?
Oh, oh no!
I can't.
Am I frozen now? Okay. This is like you've heard of the movie.
Hey,
Frozen.
everyone in the chat, raise your hand if you can hear us.
I can hear you, and you're moving now. Have I frozen?
Okay.
Oh.
You keep freezing for me, but I don't know if that's me or you.
Okay. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to sit very still. Can you hear me now? Have I frozen?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. It's cutting in and out, but it's you know, we'll try, and because I know everyone is desperate to hear about CISGU, so I absolutely don't want them missing this. What I was going to say,
I think we're both good. It looks like in the chat that people are saying they can hear me.
They can hear us, but they can't hear me now.
That's so weird.
Do you know what?
Should we just
we could quickly do a I was going to say I could dip in and out. You can hear, but David is a bit bitty. Clipping. Suanne is not frozen. No. Oh, somebody's saying check out Lula TV. Yes, now. How ironic! Now is the time we need a bloody.
I just think the internet needs to stop being a dick.
Exactly. There we go. Well, you're back, so
I'm not moving. I am not moving.
So yes, I was saying that it's like a fine wine and all that. We've covered all that. So I loved your relationship with Robert Carlyle, and your first day, your very first scene ever was with him, wasn't it?
Actually, yeah, you're right. My very, very first scene was getting beamed up on the Destiny.
And how did that feel? Were you slightly intimidated or excited, or how did that feel walking onto that set, being such a huge fan of the franchise?
Well, luckily I'd already met the cast and Robert or Bobby, but other than Ming Na and Lou Diamond, who hadn't been cast yet, actually, when we started filming, I kind of took a minute to myself. I walked around the ship, the Hammond, just to kind of check it out as a nerd and as a fan. I will say the coolest part, though, those of you who haven't heard this, we did weapons training, or they did weapons training, and I begged to be part of it. We did it in the shadow of the Atlantis Gate, and we had our first table read in the gate room of Atlantis, and that was cool for me because it felt like the baton was being handed off, and it meant a lot to me.
Absolutely.
And a lot of us, I think.
Yeah. Your picture or your back?
What a terrible time.
So yeah, I love their dynamic. It was very, as I said, very Salieri and Mozart. You know, these two people who clash but kind of need each other. Was that on the page when you started, or was that kind of what you two? No.
Yeah, that's exactly the
way. You've disappeared. Sound. I'm wondering, shall we jump off? No, I can see your mouth moving, but then it's like, it's a bit like that.
I have an alternative idea. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's not the same, but I'm wondering, just for the sake of, because I use it all the time, should we try to continue this on Twitch?
Sure. I've never done it before, but and so I don't really know how to do it. But
so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to email you a Zoom link.
Okay.
And we are going to stream that through my Twitch. Is that okay?
Sure.
Everybody in the room, check out my Twitch for David Blue. The number 4 David Blue. Give me about 2 minutes, and I will email you that link. Okay?
Yes. We'll see you shortly, everyone. Sorry.
Me too. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm using a whole new thing here.
I am wondering if I should. Oh no, I can't do that because then I can't. Never mind. Oh, it's hilarious.
1 second, gang. I know you can hear me. Let me just make sure that you can hear her.
Lovely. Hello. Can everybody hear me? I'm just plugging my phone in now so I don't lose.
No, they can't yet. They can't yet. Just 1 second. Hold on, guys. Let me just make it so you can hear her. Oop, she disconnected. Okay. Sorry, guys. This is us trying to figure out technical stuff. Yay! But welcome to the room. For those of you who haven't been here before, I'm David. Let me make sure. You can hear both? Miriam says you can hear both. Yes, we can. Okay, cool. I think they're probably... I think they're hearing an echo of you, which is actually fine. So let's just keep it that way for now. Thank you guys for joining. Oh, she keeps disappearing. Where does she go? Suanne?
How's that? Is that working?
No, you shut off your video. Now you're back.
There. Now I'm back. I'm just going to do this, and if there's an echo...
Yeah, the echo is fine. If you guys can you guys hear her okay and me okay, I hope? Much better quality, they say. Gotta love Twitch, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm going to shut up because this is Suanne's interview, but welcome all. I'm glad you're here. Let's just go for it. So where were we?
Yes. Thank you very, very much, David, for doing this. And thanks, everyone, for joining us now in Twitch, which is, hey, my first time.
Woohoo!
Twitch virgin. So we've had a few issues this evening for anyone who's just joining the conversation now over on IG Live. And we've been talking about David's career, his remarkable career so far for somebody so young.
Oh, thank you.
So we just started talking about Stargate Universe. And I was saying to David that I absolutely love the dynamic between Rush and Eli. This kind of Salieri Mozart thing, this push-pull. And I wanted to know how much of that was on the page to begin with, or if that was something the writers adapted for you both, because you had such great chemistry.
I mean, honestly, I think you probably have to ask them. Although that being said, I do remember, Stargate Universe was my first series regular, and I remember after the first table read, which, as I was saying, was in the shadow of the Atlantis Gate, which was so I guess, I don't know, meaningful. I went up to Brad Wright, and I said, I noticed when we were doing the read, you were kind of staring at us. And I was like, why? Why were you doing that? And he said, I was listening to your voices, so I knew how to write the characters moving forward. And I always found that fascinating, and as a writer, I've absolutely taken to that. I think maybe they probably altered some things, but I also know that they very much knew where they wanted to go with this show from the beginning. They knew where the ending was right when they started. So I have a feeling that it was all planned. That being said, one of the nice things was that Robert Carlyle and I hit it off right off the bat. We
Right.
we got off like gangbusters. We hung out way too much on flights and talked all the time. So we were very much not Eli and Rush. And in fact, those of you who don't know Carlyle, he's one of the sweetest, nicest, quietest men like ever. So uh, it was a blast to work with him, but I don't really know if they took that off of our dynamic. I do know that Elise and I got along right away, like the minute we met.
Yeah.
Too much, to the point that we were all at an event once, and I think it might have been Brad again. I think Brad looked at us, watched us talking, and said, keep them apart. Because we were just hitting it off too much.
I'm going to try something. Bear with me. I'm going to jump out of the shop for a second.
Okay, is everything okay on your side?
Because I am struggling to hear you, so I'm going to just try and see if I can connect my headphones, because maybe that will help.
Yeah, that'll probably help, actually.
How do you
she's
Zoom, though, for God's sake?
If you I don't know, you're on your phone, right? You could probably change your input audio source. I'm just not sure what the display looks like from the phone. Well, now I can't hear you. While she's connecting, everybody, hi, welcome to the Twitch channel. Sorry that we're having some weird issues. I don't know if it's Instagram Live or what, because I've only done it one other time and had an issue. Can you hear me, Suanne? No. Okay, she's welcome to Twitch. Those of you who've been here before, Viclesis, Gypsy, everybody who are already followers, thanks for hanging out still. And the new people, hi. Feel free to check it out later on, too, if you want. There's all these panels around with information. But we're waiting on Suanne to get connected to audio. Oh, she's connecting. I think she's connecting. It says you are connecting, so does that mean you can hear me? Oh, there, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's super quiet.
Turn your volume up.
I have. It's on full, and it's like crazy.
And then she went away. Oh, really? I will fix that. I'll fix that. That link doesn't work? I don't know where she went. I'm beginning to wonder, is it me who's having the internet problems, or is she having the internet problems? While we're waiting on her to rejoin, hi everybody. Welcome to the Twitch channel. I have no idea what's going on with the internet, or with Instagram, or whatever, but welcome. This is hilarious. Yeah, welcome to the shit show. This is so funny. But welcome back to the stream. Normally there's like a cool template here where you'd see me, but in order to stream via Zoom, I made it look more fancy pants. But anyone else? Is anyone else having a problem with the Discord link? It should work fine. Yeah, those of you who didn't know, I think it was T-Mobile got either crashed or had a docs issue yesterday. So I was having some severe problems. I don't know. We've worn out the internet. How dare you, Daza? Eli and David got this handle. I don't know what's going on, though. I have no clue. I'm hoping she'll rejoin. Let me make sure I don't have, like, an email from her. There she is. She's back. Hold on. Are you in danger? Are you back? Can you hear me now? Oh, she's connecting to audio. 1 second. Connect to audio. Gotta love the internet, people. Still connecting to audio. There you go. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
so now I hear nothing.
Oh,
I'm trying it on my laptop now.
we can hear you just fine.
Bear with me. Ah! No! Right, wait. What is this?
I'll keep talking just in case you can hear me. Hi, everybody in the room, by the way.
Oh, why can't I hear you?
I don't know. Everyone else can hear me.
Speaker view. No.
Hello. No, it's not speaker view. I think. Are you sure? Are you on your laptop now? Let's see.
I
Let me
don't
chat with
hear
her.
you. I see you, but I don't hear you. Let me just try something. Hang on. Disconnect.
Well, those of you in the room. Oh,
Ah!
hey! Can you hear?
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
There we go. Okay. So we
Just
should be
bear
good. Touch nothing, I'll touch nothing, we should be good. This is
I now need to
hilarious.
try and balance this so I don't kill myself.
Hilarious.
My
So,
get rid of the phone.
I think we're good from now on. We shouldn't have any issues as long as no one touches anything.
Right, just this is very flattering angle, isn't it?
You look great.
This is all going tits up in a big way.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, this has been everybody for a while now, on the internet, off the internet. Technology is just going crazy. The world's insane. So the fact that we're talking to each other is a miracle.
I'm trying very hard because I now have to like rejig my whole setup here. So I'm just going to sort of try and do that and get that out of the way. Because of course now also my questions are on my laptop. So
you're on, what are you on now? Your laptop?
I'm on my laptop because I couldn't hear you on the phone and I can hear you perfectly now. So I am going to bear with me and get...
It's all good. You load that up. I will talk to people in the room. We have about 56 people right now watching.
Thank you everyone for bearing with us.
They're all chatting with each other. The nice thing about Twitch is there's a chat room where they can all chat with each other.
Oh, amazing.
Um,
Right, so I'm just going to move this over the page and then I can see you.
Are you good on time, or are you going to have to go exactly at 2?
No, I'm fine, as long as you are okay as well.
I'm good. So let me let everyone in the room know we're not ending in like a minute. We're going to finish the interview. So feel free to stay on. Tell other people to come here to watch to make sure that everyone gets to hear Suanne's awesome interview.
Right. Well, let's say, 17 times is a charm.
Am I the only one who this has happened with?
It's the only one that has happened to this degree. I mean, we've had issues of people not being able to join and not like understanding the technology, and also Gary Jones had quite connectivity issues.
Of course he did.
But actually, this is grand because I can see the script, I can see you, the script, the questions.
Perfect.
Right, so we're talking about SGU and working with Robert. And I'm so sorry, but I didn't get to hear the very final bit of what you were saying, and it sounded spectacular about how the writers had sort of watched the two of you, changed a few things, definitely decided you and Elise needed to separate.
No, they were really... It was funny because there was a running joke with the show, and by the way, Suanne, this will be saved on my Twitch, so I can send you a link, so this will be something you can still video-wise use.
Awesome, thank you.
It was something interesting. They used to always tease me. I remember early on, I made the mistake of telling everyone in the cast and crew that I wasn't a nerd and a sci-fi fan and liked Stargate, and they quickly repeated that as much as they could. And the running joke was people would ask who is most like their character, and everyone would just turn to me. But the truth is, almost everybody on the show, we got along splendidly. Everyone was wonderful, and so it would be a disservice to say that we were our characters, because that was good writing. That was really good writing and good production and good acting. Carlisle, like I said, just was a wonderful human being, as was Elise and Elena and Jamil and everybody. And so I don't know how much was really based on us. We were just goofy dorks, you know. Ming Na, God love her, is one of the biggest nerds in the world. So there's so many. Yeah, like, people are always so surprised when they meet, especially like Louis. You probably know Louis. He is not at all like his character.
Is he?
He's not at all like his character. He is a big goofball. He's a giant goof. So I think people are always surprised. I think I think a lot of people tend to assume that as an actor you just show up and you're just playing yourself, but that's really very rarely the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly I think with with something like the character I played with Hathor, because she was a sort of seductress and spent all the time being sexy, which is so funny because it so does not.
I don't know.
Well, thank you. But like for me, being able to make people laugh was the escape, the thing that was just so fantastic. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting. I found that, because I started losing weight day one of SGU, but having lost what I've lost now, if people didn't know me before, they
yeah,
assume that I have always been what I am now, which I still think is whatever. But I
right.
even got cast in a movie, and the director told me he didn't want to cast me at first because he wasn't sure if I could play a stoner slacker. And I was like, that's all
Uh,
I've done for a decade. Are you kidding? It's so what's in front of you is pretty much what most people in this industry and fans perceive.
Yeah. Well, we're sort of jumping around a bit, but while we're on the topic of weight loss, what did prompt your sort of dramatic weight loss? Because when you appeared after SGU, it was, people were really, there was quite a lot of talk on the internet about your weight loss, your dramatic weight loss.
Well, actually, that was it was on purpose. I've yo-yoed my whole life with weight, both because I have a crappy metabolism, and and because I have body dysmorphia, always have. Um, I had gained weight actually for Ugly Betty, and
Right.
then worked pretty regularly. And when I got cast in SGU, I was starting to get to the point where I wasn't feeling great. I was tired a lot. I was low energy. I just didn't love what I was seeing in the mirror, and it was just a personal choice. And God bless Brad, Rob, Carl, and Joe. When I got hired, I said to them, guys, this is a survival show. Um, we're low on food, we're low on water. I want to lose weight anyway. Are you okay if I purposefully do it as the show continues? And without missing a beat, they said absolutely. So I started losing weight, working out, and watching what I was eating day one of filming. And a lot of people missed it, but if you watch the show and pay attention, you'll see me lose weight as the show goes on. I
Right.
lost probably about 40 or 50 pounds throughout 2 seasons. Um,
Wow.
and then I lost another 45 after we stopped, after we got canceled. But the funny part is, you know how it is. Sometimes you film out of order,
Yeah.
so we'd go back and be filming 3 episodes prior. Yeah. So I'm such a filmmaker, a producer, a director. So I knew that would look weird. So I would hide
Right.
it. Sometimes you'll see Eli with his hoodie zipped up, and that's me trying to hide the fact that I'm actually way skinnier now.
Yeah.
So there was lots of little tricks like that in order to do it. But God bless them for letting me do that. It just didn't make sense for Eli to, even if he wanted to stay that way, he couldn't in that environment.
Yeah. And it has changed your casting, as you said, but not necessarily for the better. Or how do you feel about that?
I mean, to be honest, it's a little back and forth. At first, it was frustrating because it is like starting over. Uh,
Yeah.
my friend Todd Stashwick said it really well. He said you changed the brand. Everyone was buying Coke, and then you changed the brand. I
Yeah.
became New
So
Coke.
tell us.
So it was
Good one.
tough, but I always think of the quote: "Dress for the job you want, not the job you have."
Yeah.
And I knew what I wanted to potentially do. I wanted somebody called me, and this isn't patting myself on the well, ironically, this isn't patting myself on the back, but somebody early on in my career said I was a young Tom Hanks, and I was like, that's
Right.
all I want in the world, and that meant being able to disappear more into roles. And
Yeah.
as I said, I wanted to feel better. I wanted to live longer. I wanted to try to deal with my self perception. So that became more important to me. And I don't think I knew how tough it would be career wise to start over. I don't think I was actually aware of it at the time. I had an idea, but not as much as it was. But luckily, it took a while, but luckily people started catching on. But it's crazy. Even to this day, I'll get called in sometimes for a role and they'll not realize that I've lost weight. And it's been years. Uh,
Wow.
I'll run into co-stars and from the past, and they don't recognize me.
Yeah.
It's
That-
crazy.
yeah, I can imagine that's sort of slightly disconcerting rather than just always what people assume it to be flattering.
Yeah, it's a little strange, and career wise, it ended up having to be more of a fight than I expected. Whether it be with representation or with casting, to literally say that's not me anymore. This is me now. A friend of mine, Chris Gorham from Ugly Betty, kind of said it well to me once over drinks. He said it's interesting in our industry, people forget that you're a human. So
Yeah.
like you'll audition for someone 10 years after you worked with them and they'll be surprised you look older. And it's like
Yeah.
I age, you know, I grow up, I change, things happen. I'm a father now or whatever, you know. So
Exactly.
so it's interesting. It's interesting to see it happening as it's happening, but at the end of the day, I think you have to be who you want to be.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think it is. It's one of those double-edged swords the whole time, isn't it? Because exactly that. Somebody sent me a thing on Twitter recently, going, "Oh, Hathor looks different," and like they may not have meant it in an insulting way, but
Oh
my
yeah.
hackles immediately rose because I was like, "It was 25 years ago,"
Yeah,
you know.
I had a
Well, and it's so stupid. It's like I should just go, "Yeah, I'm 25 years older.
yeah.
I'm over 50."
I mean,
You know?
it's insane, and I actually I remember once, and I don't fault this person at all. I was at a convention, and a fan came up to me and put down a headshot from SGU, and as I was signing it, they said, "What happened?" And I didn't know what they were talking about, so I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "You used to be so attractive." And I was
No.
like, "Oh, ouch! I actually thought I was
Yeah.
looking pretty good from working out." But it's perception. And by the way, just so you know, Urs in the chat room says Hathor looks even hotter than ever. Um,
Oh, Earth. Mwah. Thank you.
you know, it's humans. It's an interesting thing, and I don't want to get on a soapbox here, but especially with the internet and what have you. Growing up as a huge nerd, as a sci-fi fan, if I wanted to get a letter to Jonathan Frakes to say that I loved his performance of Riker, I'd have to find a phone book, send a letter through snail mail, hope he got it and read it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, somebody can literally be on the toilet and go, "I hate you," at David Blue, and it's like, bloop, it's on my phone. Like, it just goes
Yeah.
right to me. And I don't think we as a society learned what that means. We just started doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. People forget, especially when it comes to public figures, if you want to call actors that. People forget that we're just people. Um,
Yeah.
and we have struggles, health problems, weight problems, psychological problems, depression, all that stuff, you know?
Exactly. And yeah, stay off the internet. That's
Yeah,
the
the internet is dark and full of terrors.
right. So getting back to SGU, what were the characteristics of Eli that you really kind of immediately grasped onto or identified with?
Well, for sure, I joke that he and I are not the same, but we were similar. For sure I'm a nerd. I used to be great at math. I'm not anymore. I took honors calculus freshman year of college, but I can't do it now.
Being able to do it.
Like one 10% of 10%,
Yeah.
10%. Um,
I don't do numbers. I'm like, no, honey.
we are very similar in the love of TV and film. I am a huge TV film fan. That's where my nerd lies for sure. I do love space. I do love sci-fi and all of that stuff. He and I do love taking pictures and videos. That is one thing that absolutely connected with Eli and myself. But aside from that, oh, and I like to joke. It's not true, but I like to joke that I'm better with women. I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm very, I'm very sickle right now. But
We just lost. Sorry about
no, it's all
that.
good. But but aside from that, I'm not going to sit here and say that he was completely different than I was.
Yeah.
He was a little bit more sarcastic and negative than me, definitely. He was a little bit more untested and scared and younger, I guess. But we had a lot in common. I would say that people that were most unlike their characters were Louis and Jamil, who were
Right.
just night and day different.
You've said that one of your favorite memories was, and weirdly, kind of bittersweet, I think, in a way now for you, um, is that in your final episode, there was a scene where you all have this huge meal together. And actually, ironically, it turned out to be indeed your last meal because, of course, you guys didn't know then that you would be cancelled.
Hmm.
Where were you when you found out? Do you remember?
Where I found out we got canceled?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, and it's sad. It's going to be a little bit depressing. So I was at home.
Hmm.
I found out on Twitter.
Oh.
I saw a tweet that said to me, "Sorry about SGU," and I didn't know what it meant at the time. And then my agent at the time emailed me and said, "Hey, bud, don't worry." And I'm like, "What do you mean, don't worry?" And like most of us found out via Twitter, with the exception of I think Brad, Elena, Elise. I know Brad, Elise, and Brian. They were on a Navy ship.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
was on the ship.
so
Yeah,
they didn't find out for like a week after us, which kind of sucked. It felt like we were kind of discarded and no one cared to tell us, which sucks. But we all very much had the mentality that we were coming back. No one said goodbye at the time. And in fact, I put all my stuff into storage and I came back to LA for a few months. I ended up having to go and get everything out of storage. And I think that was the big turning point for me. I went to go get my stuff from Vancouver and I wanted to stop by the studio, and walking into the soundstage where the the 2-story Destiny set with working Stargate and working doors was just completely empty. And just seeing that, I was like, oh, I guess it's over, you know?
Yeah.
So that was tough. But, yeah.
And what would you say, if you can, because I mean it's quite difficult to just sort of handpick, but your top 3 moments from that whole experience? They don't necessarily have to be from the show. I mean, just like 3 memories that immediately make you go, oh.
God. Holy crap, that's a hard one. Let's see. Let me try to. These are. I can't say these are going to be the top 3, but these are going to be the 3 that come to mind.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, and so I teach acting and I coach actors on the side, have for a while, and one thing I try to relate to people as a story, as a goal. We were all shooting a scene in season 2 on the shuttle, I believe, and then they decided like, oh, we want to change some lighting stuff. Can you guys like go off set for a while? So we all kind of went outside. It was a beautiful day in Vancouver, and we all just sat down at some tables in the sun, and we were just kind of hanging out for about 30, 40 minutes, laughing and talking about weird things and just being goofy as we were, because we were like a family for sure. And I think it was Peter Kalamis who played Brody. He just kind of went, guys, and we all just kind of turned, and he said, we're at work right now. And it was this beautiful moment of, we're surrounded by friends and family. It's a gorgeous day. We're literally getting paid to do this, and we're all having a blast. And I think that always stuck with me, for sure. Followed very quickly, and this is a selfish one, but I think it was in the episode Air, Darkness, Light, Water. It was in the episode Water.
I love that.
And it was a scene where Eli and Rush are arguing while they're unloading the ice from the gate. And there's just background everywhere and yelling and screaming and special effects. And he and I are just completely going at it. And then I'm like, ah! And then I hear cut. And I was like, what do you mean cut? And I was like, oh, God, we were acting. And it was this moment where I wasn't me. I was Eli and he was Rush. And it was one of the most amazing acting moments I'd ever had, experienced anyway, where it felt like it was real.
Yeah.
And that was so cool.
Do you know what you did in that moment? Like, I always ask, and the reason I ask, this isn't, there's no right or wrong answer, but I found this certainly as an actor and with comedy, particularly stand-up, and even theatre, or any theatre more so, I think, than film. But it's such an ephemeral thing, getting a line perfect, because it is like trying to catch water. It just slips through your hands. And sometimes, like, I'll know when I've got it right, but I won't be exactly sure what I've done. I just feel it. I 100% feel it in my body. And I just wondered if you had a similar...
Yeah, ironically, as a teacher and as a coach, I don't ask people, how do you think it went? I say, how did it feel? Because it is that feeling. It's the world fades away. Yeah. And I love that. And I think that's the dragon that all actors and performers and musicians are chasing, is that feeling of it's this otherworldly type thing. I'm trying to think of a good third one that'll hopefully make you laugh. Oh, you know what? Here's one of my favorites. This also shows you who Jamil is as a person. I know I could probably tell you like 20, but here's one that comes to mind. We were all doing an interview, a group interview, like we're all sitting in chairs being interviewed at the same time. And God, I love Jamil. Jamil is great. He's a goofball. He's fun. He's so talented. Just amazing person. But he also loves to screw with people, and people don't know that. So sometimes they'll think he's being serious. Right. So we were in a group interview, and the reporter turned to Jamil and said, "Okay, so what was it like preparing to film the pilot?" And without missing a beat, Jamil goes, well, it was intense. We had that week of anti-grav training in space thanks to NASA, but because of that, and we all just kind of turned to him. And the reporter's like, oh, interesting. And then asked the next question. We're like, did you just blatantly lie on camera and she believed you?
Sorry.
I loved it so much, and it's such a Jamil thing to do. But we had so many fun. We played pranks on set. There were constant jokes all the time. We would, like I said, we would hang out. We'd watch an episode and then come over, and we'd all play Rock Band. I have video of Lou Diamond Phillips singing like Rush while Elise is on drums and I'm on guitar. Like, it was just, it was a blast of 2 years, and honestly, we thought we'd be going 5 to 10. So I'm just sad that it didn't last as long as it should have.
Yeah. Well, that brings me neatly to my next question, which is, if it were to come back in any sort of incarnation with that team, would you be on board for that?
In a heartbeat. And just to save time, I'll let you know that I've spoken to almost everyone recently. And every single other person in the show agrees. We loved the characters, we loved each other, we loved the show and where it was going. We'd love to do more. Unfortunately, it's just, not up to us.
No, of course. Well, we can only just keep trying and keep campaigning and keep hoping. And, what an extraordinary thing to have been a part of, particularly as you've watched every other episode, and not every episode. And this is, what an amazing thing to be. It was an absolute part of sci-fi history, I think.
That's very kind of you to say. Wow, that's amazing to hear. I mean, even when we were making it, I was proud of the show. I always say I would have watched it, even if I wasn't on it. I mean, I watched the other ones, of course, but I liked it. I liked that it was trying something new in a world that I loved. I loved the characters, and even some of the characters surprised me. Honestly, in the script, the characters of TJ and Greer, I thought were like, oh, they're fine. And then the first time I saw an episode with Elena in it, I was like, holy crap, I can't keep my eyes off of her. And Jamil would do choices that you're like, what are you doing? And then you'd watch it and you're like, whoa, you win anything you want to do, dude. And I was just in awe of everybody's talent, whether it be the camera people, the directors, the writers, or the actors. And I think that's rare in our industry. So I'm immensely proud of the work. And if people connect to it, that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really lovely. So moving on from there, you enter an incredibly busy period of your life, which we're still sort of in, but you had East Siders, where your appearance had changed, and then you hotly followed that with Stalking LeVar, a quirky comedy, which I watched a few episodes.
Oh, did you?
It's great. Yeah, it's really out there. So how did you become involved in that project?
Really easily, because Heidi has been a friend of mine for a long time, the creator of the show. She just asked me, and I love what I do, and I just want to do it as much as I can, let alone make a living off of it if possible. But, I knew about the show. She and I were good friends already at that point, and she just asked if I joined. Same thing with Eastsiders, too. Kit Williamson, the creator, was a friend of mine, and he said, do you want to come on the show? And I said, anything you want me to do. Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, if I could, I wish I would have done more on both shows.
Well, there's still time.
Right, let's hope.
New things coming in, exactly. Let's all watch it. But yeah, guest appearances on Rizzoli and Isles, Castle, and then you did a film with Thora Birch and Chris Klein called The Competition.
Indeed.
So busy. What was that all about, The Competition?
The Competition was essentially a rom-com, a weird
Obviously
rom-com.
A competition.
Right, The Competition. It was actually perfect to speak behind the lens a little bit. I had just had a weird thing happen in my life. My apartment had been destroyed. And I lost all of my belongings.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like an upstairs neighbor. Short version is an upstairs neighbor set their apartment on fire, and it just came. The sprinkler came through the ceiling and just destroyed everything.
Oh
so
my God.
I was living in a hotel with nothing but the shirt on my back and a laptop, and I was like, "This sucks. I don't even know what to do." And I booked this movie that we shot in Portland for a month. So it gave me a place to live, it gave me a job to focus on, and got to meet and get to know Chris and Thora, and it was great. And I was playing a slacker, stoner dude. So I was like, I could do this in my sleep. It was a lot of fun. I was very lucky that year, actually, because I did that. I did a World War II movie, a small role in that with Casper Van Dien that I don't even think is out yet. and I did Lear's Shadow, the Shakespeare movie and play, and I did like 5 movies that year, the Christmas
Yeah.
movie, and it was just crazy because it sort of reminded me how it really is the thing that makes me happiest. I
Yeah.
love acting. I love being on set. And I love work. I'm a workaholic. So it
Yeah.
kind of could not have come at a more perfect time.
Well, I was going to say, because the next 3 projects I wanted to talk about were
Oh,
some of
sorry.
those films. So no, it's great. This is like great segue, honey. Um, so the Christmas feel-good film, 12 Days of Giving, where you were a lovely romantic lead, and then an uber geek in The Concessionaires Must Die, which I just love that title, and then heavyweight Shakespearean dialogue and fantastic largely two-handed. There are 3 people in the cast in Lear's Shadow.
Hmm.
Remarkably different tonally,
Oh, yeah.
which is fantastic because you're versatile. You can play loads of different things.
Hmm.
Was 12 Days of Giving your first romantic lead?
Um, I guess technically not, because the movie The Concessionaires Must Die, which came out that year, had actually
Right.
been filmed years earlier. We
Ah,
Concessionaires Must Die took about 5 years to come out. So that was my first rom-com lead, even though it was goofy and nerdy. But
yeah,
but 12 Days of Giving was my first like Christmas movie, Hallmarky Lifetime movie, and
yeah,
it was daunting because, as somebody with body dysmorphia, as somebody whose mirrors are always broken, I don't see myself that way. And I years ago learned to shut up when people say something and go, no, I'm not, and just go like, thank you. Um,
yeah,
so it was kind of odd, but
yeah.
also really a wonderful challenge because it was something that I hadn't done and wasn't sure if I felt comfortable doing, and now want to do all the time.
Oh, Christmas movies are the best.
Right, I actually haven't done one since even, but it was so much fun, and we
Yeah,
shot in a small town in Nebraska, and everyone was really cool and welcoming, and the cast, Ashley was wonderful, Jax was wonderful. It was a great
so no
experience.
nightmare working with kids because they always say, animals and children.
No, and I have a friend who was on a kids
Right.
show with like 100 kids, and he was like, ugh. Uh, Jax, actually, the kid in the movie was great. We got along. We went bowling one day on the day off. I
Oh,
didn't actually,
lovely.
I didn't get to work with him as much because you know how it is with kid actors. They wrap them
Yeah.
early, so pretty much half, if not more, of my scenes in 12 Days of Giving are me acting with a piece of tape on a chair
Yes.
because they had already sent him home.
Yeah.
um,
And that's when those lessons pay off, right?
yeah, you're like, oh, come on, piece of tape. I care about you so much.
I've always loved you.
It was more interesting because we were filming in Fremont, Nebraska, and it was supposed to be winter, but it was a warm winter. So we're,
Yeah.
we're filming on like ice that's breaking because it's melting, but we're supposed to be like, brr, it's so cold, when in fact we
Yeah.
were sweating through everything. So
I understand that. I did a film 2 years ago shooting in Romania where it was like 36 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Hot.
yeah,
Bloody hot.
yeah,
And we were all dripping with sweat and was meant to look like this sort of icy, and they flying in foam and stuff. Anyway, I think I prefer that though because we did a sequel to the film which is coming out in November.
oh nice.
And that was shot in Scotland in the cold. And for me, I'd much rather be warm than cold, I think. Um,
I'm the opposite because I sweat easily. I can always put on more clothes. Like, there's only so much I can take off. But
uh,
I feel you, and this is something about acting that I love hate. Like, you'll film a Christmas movie when it's hot as balls, and you'll film a beach movie when it's freezing. Like, it's always the opposite of what you want.
Absolutely. When your body is white and pasty and hasn't seen the sun, you're like, great, now I've got to get my gams out.
Yeah.
That's Lent,
Yep.
by the way.
Oh, God, yeah.
So in The Concessionaires Must Die, quirky film, interesting, and you acted as co-producer and star. How did you find that experience, sort of wearing the 2 hats? Did you enjoy that, or was that quite daunting for you?
In that particular instance, it wasn't that bad because it was one of those creative producer titles where it wasn't like I was responsible for making the movie. My wonderful director and friend, America Young, was. So she was dealing with all that. My job was just to not screw it up. Since then, I've done a few other projects as producer, and I have learned that I'm a good producer, but I love acting, if that makes sense. It's actually, I produced a pilot of a show that I was trying to make for a while called Drunken Gaming. And
yes, I saw that on your website. I mean, I'm in. I think
boom. You know what's funny? I have a list of people who want to play Connor, Trenier, you, all these other people who want to be in a future episode. I just can't get the show produced. But I produced the pilot myself to try to sell it. And that experience was such a nightmare that I was like, oh God, I don't know if I want to do this at all. And I was starting to question my place in the industry because it had been a few years since I had acted really at that point.
Yeah.
And when I booked the competition with Chris and Thora, I walked on set having not really acted in a little while. And I was like, God, do I still like this? And 5 minutes into being on set, I was like, oh, yes, I do. And I selfishly think I realized why I prefer acting. When you act, you go on set, you do your job, and you go home.
Yeah.
You're responsible for your work, and that's it. As a producer, you're like a parent. You're responsible for everybody's work. And it's so much more stressful, and it's so much more responsibility. And I'm just going to admit that I'm selfish. And I just want to do my job and go, cool, call me when you need me again.
Yeah. I totally understand. Amanda and I talked a lot about that because, of course, Sanctuary, she was in it, directed some episodes, and exec produced. And she said she found it exhilarating, but completely exhausting. Like, she got to the end and she was just like...
Yeah.
I'm a human being.
Yeah, it's so crazy. You know, I think the biggest lesson for me about that, because I also direct, but I tend to not write things for myself. I write things to produce. And I tend to not direct things that I'm in. And I never really realized why until Robert Carlyle was directing an episode of SGU. And it was this big group scene that we were all in, which sounds like porn, but it's not. This big group scene, and I remember we were acting, and I kind of saw his eyes flicker. And I was like, what did he just look at? And then I realized he was checking the frame from inside the scene. And and he did not ruin it at all. Like, he did it well. But I was like, oh, God, how can you do two jobs at once, man? I don't know how you're doing it. And so I selfishly think I realized it's kind of a one at a time for me.
Yeah, although, I mean, you're incredibly busy all the time and you multitask. So perhaps, down the line.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not, hey, never say no.
So tell us about Leah's Shadow. It was a play first, and I didn't realize you were in the play as well.
Indeed. My good friend Brian Ellerding wrote this beautiful play, took me out for coffee and just told me about it. And I was like, yeah, where do I sign up? And I love Shakespeare. I studied Shakespeare in college. I really honestly, for a minute, thought that's what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. We were talking about Actors Theatre of Louisville. Right before I went there, I was offered an internship at the Orlando Shakespeare Festival that I turned down in the hopes that Actors Theatre of Louisville, which was one of the hardest decisions of my life because I really loved the Orlando Shakespeare Festival. But I hadn't done it in years. And it was very daunting. Like you said, it's a 3-person movie/play, but the majority of it is, it's the two of us until the third person comes in. So the idea of not only doing mostly Shakespeare with a little bit of contemporary thrown in, but also I enter stage at the beginning of the play and I do not leave until the end.
Yeah.
That was terrifying. And I wasn't entirely sure if I could do it. And I am so grateful and glad that I did. The play itself, which we ran for about a month in Pasadena, was so wonderful. And we even had an immersive thing where there were tables in the movie were actually filled with audience members during the play. And we acted around them, pretending they weren't there. Amazing. So it was an amazing experience. And actually, Elena and Ruthie Connell came and saw the play. And then we filmed it over 2 days. The whole movie took 2 days to film.
2 days?
2 days. Because we had done the play for a month, so we all knew it so well. And honestly, I thought it was going to be trash. Because I'm like, there's no way that we film a movie in 2 days and it's good. And I'm so proud of it. It's so good. I love it. I'm very proud of that movie. I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's fabulous. It's really, you get to strut your Shakespearean chops, which you do remarkably well. It's funny, it's moving, I highly recommend it. So
Thank
watch
you.
Everyone.
Yes, we're not paying her to say that, by the way. Just
no,
so you
honestly not. So do you enjoy, which would you say you prefer from a creative point of view? Kind of small really intense kind of vibe like that, or a big well-oiled machine? I mean, obviously financially, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking purely creatively.
It depends how hungry I am. No, it's interesting because when I, I'm usually a too honest person, and especially since I've joined Twitch, yeah, I'm a very private person. But when you're on Twitch, it's impossible to be because you're just like, here's me.
Yeah.
I I've moved around the industry so much because it really was like starting over when I lost the weight. So I've moved around representation a lot. So when I've taken meetings with new representation, they'll always ask, "What do you want to do next?" As if I have a choice in that matter at this point in my career. And my answer has kind of been the same. As much as I would love to play Chuck on Chuck, like be number one on a TV show, and that sounds fun, I've also been friends with leads of shows and seen how tired they are, how
Yeah.
exhausted they are, and how you kind of give up your life for 9 to 10 months out of the year. And I do love that. I'd love to be in a Marvel movie. I'd love to be Shazam, not take over for Zach, but I'd love to be that type of thing. But I think the sweet spot, the thing that intrigues me the most right now, I would love to be in a good ensemble drama, just doing good work. I would love to be on a Parenthood or This Is Us.
Succession. Have you watched Succession?
Yes. Oh my God. I would love because it's like Shakespeare.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Epic, high stakes.
Yeah, we're watching like Weird King Lear.
Yeah.
I just want to, it's funny. I quote a friend of mine in college, and this is back when we were studying theater. Uh, Doing TV and film was a pipe dream. We lived in Florida. That wasn't a thing you do.
Yeah.
And somebody asked my friend Dan, do you want to go do TV and movies? Or do you want to do Broadway? Do you want to be famous? And he said, I want to make a living doing what I love.
Ah, sorry.
That's all good.
I've been holding my laptop, so it just slipped out my hand.
Oh, are you okay?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry. Do you want to make a living doing what you love?
I just want to make a living doing what I love and doing work that challenges me and that I can be proud of. And so a good ensemble thing like a This Is Us, I would die for. Do I want to, be a superhero or be in a Marvel movie? Is that a dream of mine? Of course.
Yeah.
I'm not ridiculous. But if I could step into anyone's career, it'd be Tom Hanks. I want to do everything. I want to do comedy. I want to do sitcom. I want to produce. I want to direct. I want to help.
Yeah. So what is next for you when lockdown lifts eventually and when we can all finally go back to some sort of semblance of real life?
Oh, God. When is that? When is that going to be? Can you tell me?
I don't know. Yeah.
So Julie McNiven, who played Gin in SGU, and I have kind of become unofficial writing partners. We wrote a few scripts we've been trying to take out and sell. The most recent of which is this, I dare say, pretty darn good 1-hour drama that seemed to have some interest to sell and produce before COVID happened. So I'd love to do that and get that show on the air. Right now, me and a director and another writer are currently co-writing a single cam comedy that actually I will be in, that takes place during quarantine, that we're in pre-production on the pilot, and we're currently writing. I think we're on episode 6 right now of 10. So we're hoping to sell that or get that put up and get people's eyes on it. As far as like actual stuff after, I have no idea. It's been weirdly slow in the industry before quarantine.
Yeah.
The
I
industry.
sort of felt like people kind of sensed something was coming almost. Like there was lots of trepidation and...
Yeah, but you know what? And not to speak too insider. To the 77 people in the room. Hi, people.
Hello, everyone.
The way that I would phrase it, because a few studio exec friends and I would kind of try to figure out what's going on, and the way I started saying it was, everyone in the industry knows the model is broken, but no one has a better idea of what to do other than what we've always done. So everyone's just like, just keep doing it until we get a better idea.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know that they knew necessarily that something like quarantine was coming, but I think people know that a change is going to happen. Just we don't know when. And that's good changes like diversity. That's odd changes like going to streaming and financial systems completely changing. But I don't really know what it's going to look like, especially after this, because people are talking about writing shows with less guest actors and
no travel, and like how film sets are going to be completely different. I was having this discussion yesterday with someone. There will be no more buffet style, like all eating together. The food will be They were saying they're thinking of maybe having actors bring their own, like, knife and fork and spoon and mug, like prison.
Yeah, well, I think I might have been texting with David Hewlett about this, but I was saying, you remember that big jug of red vines that are always on set that you just reach in and grab one?
Exactly.
Gone forever. Never going to see that again.
I'm a crafty.
But it's interesting because, as a fan, as a watcher of entertainment, I don't know that I want to watch a show that's the same 5 people for 20 episodes, no guest stars, and no group scenes. Like, I'm not interested in watching that. That sounds boring as hell to me. Yeah. So I don't really know what the actual fix is going to be. I do know that I didn't have a lot of auditions this pilot season, sadly. One of the ones I had, honestly, I would have been perfect for, and I did a good job. It was about 2 days before quarantine. It was essentially an older version of the roles I've always played. And I was like, perfect, here's my next job.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I did a good job. I don't know if they thought I did a good job. I did a good job. But I don't know if once this is done, are they going to just hold new auditions? Because it's been months. Everyone they saw might have gained, lost weight, changed, who knows.
Exactly.
It got picked up. The show got picked up, but they never filmed the pilot. So, like, it's picked up, but you don't have a cast. So it's just, we're in such a time of, not to get too deep about it. We're in such a weird time in human history where we're going to have to evolve, first of all. We just have to. But we don't know when it ends or what the world's going to look like when it ends. So we're all just kind of plodding along going like, I guess we're alive, so just keep going.
Exactly. That is kind of how I feel at the moment. I have days where I wake up and I kind of think, oh my God, it's all terrible. And British theatre is on its knees, as I'm sure theatre is globally. And then I kind of think, people have survived worse. They have. And theatre has survived. Film has survived. People need storytellers. They need to be entertained. They need that escapism of living in another world, whether that is sci-fi, comedy, sci-fi, whatever,
Yeah. I actually used to say it. Sorry, continue.
No. Go ahead.
Just reminded me of there's a great meme that says the original name for Zoom was. Oh no, sorry, go ahead. No, it's totally true, and it's been a running joke that I've said for a long time. Of I am actually decently good at physical things. I'm a good shot, all that kind of stuff, but nowhere near as good as like actual survivalists. And I've always joked that if there was ever a zombie apocalypse, I'm gonna hide in a cave until society restarts, because you don't need entertainers until like things are back okay. Yeah. And here we are now. But what I'm seeing and what I kind of love is so many of my creative friends, writers, producers, directors, and artists are like, I got to do something. So like my friend Mark Bernardin did this wonderful thing, the Nerdalogues, which raises charity money by having everyone do monologues. And it's all these wonderful actors kind of stretching their muscles, and it helps to watch. And I know Queer Eye has become like, I dose myself with it when I'm really sad. I'm like, time to watch an episode, Schitt's Creek is an obsession. Yeah. You need it during times like this. And that's, like you said, the catharsis of entertainment's always going to be a thing, whether or not people realize it. So I'm not worried that theater, TV, and film are damaged or gone. I am worried how long it'll be before it's really back, and more so for people like us. I'm more worried about how long is it going to be before we can like make a living again doing it, because even if the world ends quarantine soon, it won't, but even if it all goes back to normal at some point, it's going to take another month or two before we work, because you got to then wait for shows to get into production and then get cast and then all that stuff. Exactly. So,
and also they have to figure stuff out that no one's ever had to do before. There's going to have to be, like, hair and makeup has to be done differently. How they then get supporting artists on a set and transport. How do you then work if you're on location?
Yeah, that's actually, I love
the actors in it. I mean, like, there's so much stuff. I was speaking to a producer friend of mine the other day, and he was just like,
Yeah, which is why it's so funny, these guidelines that they're like tentatively releasing say things like, crew is going to be quarantined in certain areas. The only people that can go from area to area are actors. And as an actor, you're like, hold on.
Yeah.
So I'm just expendable? Like, what exactly is going on? And it's a little terrifying, because especially when before a lot of people weren't working more than ever. A lot of actors I know were already back in January saying it's starting to. Sorry guys, this is gonna be a little depressing, but a lot of actors were already successful ones saying it's starting to feel like acting is a hobby, not a career.
Yeah.
And everyone was worried about that before. Now that this has happened, I think it's going to be even harder. Those of us who unfortunately are addicted and it's what makes us happy, we're not going anywhere. But I don't know what that future is, which is part of the reason, honestly, years ago I moved into producing and writing because I wanted to create stuff I wanted to watch and I wanted to create work. But it's a little freaky. And I think this is true of the whole world. Everyone's like, I mean, the highest unemployment like since ever, and no one knows if they're ever going to work again. But especially when you do what we do, where you're like, "Hey, look at me!" It's like even though you are essential, you don't feel essential.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the great things, though, is that we can create and do things like this show. I know we're on your channel right now, but Hathor Host was kind of born out of wanting to do something and feel creative and it's been amazing to get to know fellow actors who I normally spend 10, 15 minutes with at a convention or maybe a day or a weekend. So just keep creating, keep, coaching other actors. At least it's a way of fulfilling that, scratching that itch.
Yeah, and I absolutely, by the way, thank you for having me, but I absolutely agree with you. When Elena mentioned she was doing this, I'm like, I want to, because not only did I want to do it with you, but I agree. I've always been fascinated by the creative bug, and also I think most of the actors I know who I find interesting to watch are curious about people, and like to watch and learn and know people. And I even hosted a podcast for a while that was an interview type thing for that reason.
Yeah. Tell us about Out of the Blue. Is that are you still doing that or not?
No, the company that I was doing it with at the time, I decided to part ways with, and then I kind of haven't done it for a while. I'll announce here, I can't say anything officially, but there will be a new podcast with a new company under a new name, but it'll still be... I can't say where, when, or who with yet, but it's going to be a similar type format, once quarantine ends, of course. But I know that feeling, and I think you're wonderful for doing it, and I also think you're doing it well. I think these types of things, much like Zoom, allows us to not feel like we're stuck at home by ourselves. I think these types of things can at least help us figure out what that new normal is going to be,
Absolutely. So my last question before I hand over to the fan questions that I've got, and unfortunately, obviously there were loads of people who wanted to ask you stuff on Instagram, but I do have a few. So my last question to you is, what is your dream job? Acting job, I mean.
My dream acting job?
Yeah, or dream job, actually. I don't mind.
Well, my dream job is... I found something when if my mom and dad are watching. Hi, Mom and Dad. I found something when I was going through my old stuff at their house, and I think it was it was junior year of college. My professor made us write a day in the life 10 years from now. And I just found it recently. I wrote that I got off stage in New York from my Broadway play that had just opened, hopped on a plane, flew to LA, met up with my wife, I think, to take a car to my movie premiere.
Yes.
And my dream has always been to just work a lot, and I love what I do. I love sharing it with friends and helping others. And if I can get to a place where I can lift down and bring others up, that creatively, it's anything that challenges me. I'd step into anything that Zach Levi, John Krasinski, John Gallagher Jr., or Tom Hanks or Paul Rudd do and be happy.
Yeah. Well, what an absolute treat this has been, and I predict great things ahead for you.
Can you write that down and sign it?
I shall, and I'll tell you what, more than that, I'm going to hold me and you to that, and when it does happen, I'm going to pull out my little tacky piece of paper and say, told ya.
Perfect, I love it.
So I have a few questions here from fans. I don't know, can they ask you questions on Twitch?
Yeah, there's a little chat room. Are you seeing the stream right now, or are you just seeing me and you?
At the moment, just seeing me and you because I'm reading the questions. But once I've done them, they're not that many. I hope this poor man the guy from Portugal who says I'm a huge SGU fan in Portugal, and I don't know if he's on Twitch. So
what's his name?
Instagram. Luis, I think. I need to double check. Bear with me. Hang on 1 second. Luis.
Let me ask. But they're all chatting up a storm. All 80 of them are chatting up a storm right now. It's hard to know because with Twitch, especially, people have usernames, and you're not sure what their real name is sometimes.
Right. Well, anyway, we'll assume that he will see it somehow. So he says, from a big SGU fan in Portugal, after they got confirmation about the last episode of Stargate Universe, was there any attempt either from the cast or production to keep the show alive?
Well, to be completely clear, cast has very little say in anything. We are, I hate to ruin the facade, but actors are hired help. Unless we're a producer on the show, we show up, we do our job, and we leave. So even when you say, like, bring the show back, it's like, I would love to. We would still be doing it if I had any say. Yeah, and I'm working. But I will say that Brad and Rob, or I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here. I heard, because I asked, because I wanted to do more, that there were going to be 2 movies that were going to continue things, both the SG-1 Atlantis and Universe, and then also wrap up Universe. And unfortunately, it was decided, whoever decided, that they didn't want to do that. So it was going to happen, and then they decided against it. So I have not heard anything since then. That's all I know. That's my pay grade.
Well, that's good, because the next question was, is there any realistic way SGU Season 3 or a movie to be made? We can't wait. What can we do as fans to make it happen? We want to know what happened to Eli.
Well, I will... Oh, guys, my first time saying it on record. But I will say that when we were still filming SGU, I went up to Brad and asked, where are we going? And he told me some stuff. And then we got canceled.
Ooh.
So
you have the secrets.
I know some of where the show was ending, and I know some of where Season 3 was going. And I've always said that I will never tell anyone, because one, it's not my story to tell. It's Brad and Rob and Carl's. And then 2, in the back of my mind, even to this day, I don't want to say it because then it can't be made. It's ruined. And I would love to believe that there's always a chance, especially the way we ended the show, where they could continue. And especially when you're watching things like Will and Grace come back and the Connors, you never know. I love how many conspiracy theories are like, he's lost so much weight, they're totally filming right now. And I'm like, okay. I would love it. And to answer the second part, which I think is important, what can fans do? I think with any franchise, it's don't be silent. And I don't mean get mad at anybody. I mean, talk about the show, tweet about the show, show that the things are still popular, so that way when people produce or pitch or try, the higher-ups who are making decisions know that there is going to be an audience and a fan base there for it. I think, unfortunately, that's part of the, not to be negative, the thing with what happened with SGU. So many people actively, not so many, some people actively campaigning against it, I think might have helped damage the franchise because it made other people go, oh, they don't want more.
Well, now is the time to reverse that and get on there and tweet and talk about it. I mean, I know Joe Malozzi and I had a long chat about this, and he's been amazingly vocal. Sorry, I'm being wibbly wobbly. I'm sort of balancing it on a
you're fine.
Table. So anyway, let's keep hoping that is something that happens, because I think we'd all sign on in a New York minute.
Oh my God, if they continued SGU, I'd be there tomorrow, and if they made a new show, I would beg to. It's the same thing, like Ben Browder is a friend of mine now.
Yeah.
And while we were filming, I met him, and he's like, I want to be on the show. Can you tell them I want to be on? And I think everyone on all the franchises are like that. We all want to keep working with each other.
Absolutely.
So, we're down. Like, it's just not up to us.
And also, I think, certainly with Stargate, there is something really special about it, that people genuinely seem to love each other, get on with each other, stay in touch. Like, I was... compared to sort of series regular stuff, just a tiny, minuscule portion of the show, but still have amazing friendships, still see people, still in touch, still laughing, still, staying in touch, and that's really special, I think.
I would say 99% of the people I've met that, even if I didn't ever work with them, that have a tie to Stargate are incredibly cool. And even if it's just doing a convention, like we did one in Chicago, it was me, Chris Judge, Jewel State, and Elena. And we just went out for drinks, and next thing you know, we're clubbing until 3 a.m. Like, we just all get along,
Yeah, Chris Judge, dangerous to go out with.
Oh, yeah, I went home at 3. He was still there. I'm like, good night, have fun.
What was it like filming that final scene on the Destiny once everyone else was in the stasis chambers?
it was tough. I mean, we didn't know it was gonna be the end for sure. And to this day, it means a lot to me. Patrick Gilmore, when he watched the episode, texted me and gave me a nice compliment about my acting in that scene. It was important to me at the time that Eli wasn't just kind of staring off into space, that something was going on, that he was thinking about something, and I love that Patrick kind of picked up on it. But it was, at the time, it was hopeful and it was interesting. Looking back, it's kind of hard to imagine that. Like you said, one of our final scenes was all of us having a goodbye dinner in an episode, and it's so bittersweet to look back now and realize, we've all seen each other since, but the characters, it was so weird to think that that was actually our goodbye.
Yeah. On a scale from 1 to 10, how big a sci-fi geek are you?
9.5. I haven't seen everything, but I love TV and movies, and I had a Star Trek Next Generation birthday party when I was a teenager. My first convention I ever went to was as a fan to a Star Trek convention. God, I have a lightsaber sitting on my mantle right now. I'm a pretty big nerd.
I love it. So pretty up there.
Yeah.
This one goes to 11, guys. What's your favorite video game?
Ooh, tough. I'm just gonna list a couple. Journey was beautiful. Skyrim was great. Back in the day, Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger. These days on my Twitch channel, I'm playing all sorts of stuff. One retro game that I've always loved called Starflight, and a new one recently that's gorgeous called Gree. Oh, it's so beautiful. I don't know. I like stories.
Yeah. Let's see. There's one here. If you had to choose between bacon or pizza, which would you choose?
It's like Sophie's Choice. They're both so tasty. I'm going to say pizza because just definition-wise, you have more options there.
Yeah, and you can always have like something resembling bacon on a pizza.
Yeah, fakin'.
Exactly. Okay, these are quick ones. Morning or evening?
Evening. I'm a night
Tea or
owl.
coffee?
What was the last one?
Sorry. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Protein or carbs?
Protein. Wait, hold on. What do I like? Carbs. What do I eat? Protein.
Cake or death?
I'll have the vegetarian platter, please.
And that, my lovely, lovely David, brings us to the end of the interview, which has been an hour on here. I can't believe
Woo!
that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this and for persevering and going through.
I feel so bad that it happened.
Hell.
I really feel terrible. I don't know if it's me or, well, it's not me. I don't know if it's my internet or what, or if it's Instagram. I feel terrible.
I think it's Instagram. You know how you were saying if Zoom's was originally called, what did you say it was? It was Zoom?
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think Instagram is, have I frozen? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah,
a
please
nightmare.
don't worry at all. Thank you so much for taking this huge chunk of time to answer our questions, to be such a good sport, to whack this onto your Twitch channel. It's been a delight.
I appreciate that. I will make sure I will send you a link at the very least to the video of this, which will be up on my Twitch channel. I've never tried. Let me see if I can download it and send it to you or something like that. So maybe you could post it.
Just the link is fine. And
Okay.
then I think that's probably easier for people because it probably is a whopping file.
Okay.
I would imagine.
I will email that to you as soon as it's done processing. But I just wanted to say, one, thanks for your patience. But two, thanks for wanting to do this. You've been lovely, and this has been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. And I look forward to us doing it again in person, hopefully.
Yes, please. You better not get rid of me.
No, hell no. So thank you so much.
And everybody, make sure you watch her next interview. Follow her on Instagram if you don't already. And who do you have next?
Oh, thank you. Who do I have next? Jacqueline Samuda.
Oh, woo, okay.
Jacqueline Samuda. And then Dan Payne.
Nice.
And then we're into July, which is Tony Amendola, Paul McGillian, Rosetta Vander. God, I've got the list somewhere. I was like, who have I left out? And then I've got some really interesting ones cooking away. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh, nice. I might have to send you a question or two for Polly.
Yes. Oh, please do. Please do. Or any kind of like fun behind the scenes things that you can.
Absolutely. And from us and from all the people in the chat, thank you for doing this. It's cool.
Oh, thank you. Mwah. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll speak to you soon, David.
Sounds
Take
good.
care.
Bye.
Bye.